Simagic added another product to their Neo lineup, and we'll be taking an in-depth look at it. And I mean, really in-depth. Right after a quick disclaimer. Simagic sent this product for review, but as always, all of my thoughts and opinions are free from any influence. We'll dive into all of the details, but let's start with the most important question. Who is it for and how much does it cost? Here's the thing. If you ask someone who likes to switch between different rims, this might interest you. I'll be honest, I'm not much of a rim swapper as I prefer a complete steering wheel, but then I realized something. Most complete wheels are essentially just button boxes attached to rims anyways. As for the price, it is $199 or €179, excluding shipping and taxes. But here's where it gets interesting. That's just the starting point. Paddle shifters need to be bought separately, which we will talk about in detail in a bit. For now, let's see what you get for the initial investment. You get button stickers, a tool pouch, really nice Simagic embossed sticker, center plate, USB cable and the hub. It comes with a 50mm quick release in the box. What you need to buy separately are paddle shifters, mag link for Simhub Compatibility and the rim, assuming you don't have one. If keeping the rims cost aside, you're looking at roughly $280 excluding shipping and taxes. But we'll revisit the pricing later on after taking a thorough look at it. If you have ever used a GT Neo, this will feel very familiar. All of the encoders, the thumb encoders, the button, the travel, it's all practically identical. And it makes sense given this is part of their Neo lineup. It has 9 customizable RGB rev lights, 8 buttons, 2 7-way multi-position switch, that is up, down, left, right, clockwise, counterclockwise rotation and push. 2 thumb encoders and 2 12-way rotary encoders. These rotary encoders are absolute encoders and will work without mag link. If you own a GT Neo, you would know that out of 4 encoders, only 2 of them work as absolute. In order for all 4 to work on absolute, you will need mag link. Since there are only 2 of them here, they will work with and without mag link on absolute. Coming to the build quality, it felt great. It was a bit heavy because of the pre-attached quick release, so I removed that to get a proper feel. After which, I realized just how much weight the quick release added. Similar to the GT Neo, the outer shell is injection molded with sprinkled carbon fiber. Overall, it felt solid and there were no signs of poor craftsmanship. The weight has also been kept well under 700 grams and 1111 grams with quick release. The overall weight will go up, so I would recommend you pay attention to the weight, especially if you have a base under 10 Newton meters. If you have anything close to 15 and above, you're completely fine. After attaching the bull rim, the overall weight increases to 1759 grams. That is a 58% increase from the QR mounted weight. You might have noticed that this weight does not include paddle shifters. I added them and the overall weight moved up to 1954.5 grams. That is very close to being a 2 kilogram rim. If you plan on using a circular rim, odds are you might cross the 2 kilogram mark quite easily. My trusty old GT1R weighs 2113 grams. Since I have attached paddle shifters, let's talk about them. Like I mentioned earlier, the hub does not come with these in the box. And for an interesting reason. This is a shifter kit which costs $40 for single paddle module, that is only for shifter paddle, and $55 for dual paddle module, which will include clutch paddle as well. If you are getting confused, allow me to clear it up. If you choose to get single paddle module, you will get a box with all 3 of these shifters without the clutch paddle. If you want the clutch, you opt for dual paddle module, which will include these plus 2 different clutch paddles. The spacing on these is customizable as it comes with proper spacers, so you can mess around to get the right spacing. The 3 paddles are made out of metal, injection molded plastic and carbon fiber. As for the clutch, you only have 2 options, metal and carbon fiber. No injection molded paddle for this one. I tried all 3 and I gotta be honest, the plastic one is my least favorite. It weighs 14 grams and has excellent detailing. It even has smooth ridges and indented upshift and downshift signs. I really tried to like it, but did not. It's not that the construction is poor or there is something inherently unappealing about it. It's just that it does not give me the satisfactory feel while shifting. The carbon fiber one, on the other hand, is just great. At just under 12 grams, it is the lightest of the 3. You cannot go wrong with this. It is light, it feels right, and helps shave a few grams off of the total weight. Then lastly, we have the metal shifters, which I immediately fell in love with. It weighs 17 grams, which makes it the heaviest in the group. But for some reason, I was drawn to this. The crosshatch design and the smooth metal surface with indented elevator style arrows were just too hard to ignore. This has been my pick ever since the product landed in my office. Now this pack at $40 and $55 could either be the best thing for some people or total nonsense to others. Personally, I'm in the former camp. I think it's a brilliant move by Simagic. Since this hub supports multiple rims and is compatible with Simhub, why not take it a step further and allow users to have different paddles as well? I see this as a complete win in my book. Now let's talk about real-world usage and testing, for which I focused more on track racing as it utilizes more torque than rally. Since I'm a beginner in online racing, it was easier for me to focus on racing while keeping an eye out for any unusual movements or creaks. I did a lot of online sessions on ACC plus a bunch of hot lapping on both ACC and Automobilista too. I assigned my left rotary encoder to ABS and right one to traction control. And similar to most rims out there, you would know when either of them kicks in. What did not kick in was any weird noise or creaks. What you're seeing here is me playing with it on the Alpha Mini. This is the rig which you see majority of the times. But I wanted to be absolutely sure of its durability, so I played with it on my Alpha U as well. It passed the test with flying colors, and once again I did not notice any noise or creaks, but I still had my doubts. You see, as a sim racer and consumer, I believe in thoroughly evaluating a product before committing to it. A few days of testing on a couple of bases isn't enough to offer complete reassurance. Accidents happen and components can fail. While the structural integrity held up during my tests, there's no guarantee that it always will. That is why I decided to dig deeper and take a look inside. As much as I love keeping my stuff in pristine, untampered conditions, it was a bit difficult for me to do this. But since it needed to be done, here we are. Now before I proceed, please keep this in mind that this teardown is for educational purposes only. I have experience with electronics and teardowns in general. Opening up your device and tampering with the internals might void your warranty. If you are having any trouble with your Simagic product, please reach out to their customer support or your distributor. Do not attempt to replicate this. I repeat, do not. I started by removing the quick release first, as I anyways have to use a different plate which comes with Maglink. It was held down by 4 screws which came out relatively easy. Underneath you will find 2 wires. One of them is for wireless communication and the other one for updating the software or Maglink. If you dismissed my very polite and gentle warning and are planning to perform a teardown, use an electronic tweezer. After removing the quick release assembly, I removed all the screws on the backside just to find out that something was preventing the front cover from opening. After some careful look around, I realized that it was the rotary knob, so I used a prying tool to gently pull out both the knobs and the 7-way switches. After which I was greeted by the beautiful internals. The backside of the front cover reveals that this is indeed injection molded. The cross bracing structure with varying wall thickness makes it quite clear. Then while I was admiring this piece of art and starting to think of putting it back together, I noticed that what I was holding on to felt like metal. So just to be sure, I tapped on it a few times with my prying tool and Allen key. And I was right, it was metal. So I cancelled the idea of putting it back together and decided to strip it down further. I removed all the screws holding the PCB down and the metal piece which acts as one of the mounting holes for the rim, while also supporting the PCB. The reason why this is removable is so there can be space on the backside for connecting the 2 wires to the port for quick release and software update. Neat. Then my years of experience came in handy. There was a very thin wire underneath the PCB, which I carefully removed, and out came the PCB. Here you can see a cute little Easter egg. To finish first, you must first finish. Nice touch. Also, Simagic, for future products, could you print something funny? Because why not? Looking further, I saw there is an entire metal plate on the base, so I removed that too, just to take a proper look. It was a 5mm thick steel plate which acts as a structural reinforcement for the entire hub. While finding this plate was definitely reassuring and put most of my doubts to rest, I should mention that anything can break under right condition. No amount of reinforcement can guarantee absolute indestructibility. What I will say based on what I saw inside is that Simagic definitely put some serious thought into making this durable. After a while, I stopped admiring all of the internals out on the table and put it back together. I actually enjoyed this teardown as it was assembled quite nicely and is very hard to mess up while disassembling. Still, it is my job to warn you not to do this. Right before completing the assembly, I use the MagLink plate because it is required to access Simhub. And with the hardware side covered, let's shift focus towards software. Now, talking about Simhub, this is compatible, which means you will be able to customize it to however you like. I don't use it a lot, only for a couple of areas such as customizing these LEDs around the encoders for traction and ABS, or spotting the car on either of my sides because I play on a single monitor. Now, let's say you want to customize one of these encoders for traction control, right? So what you want to do is you want to click on add group and then click on add effect. From here, you want to look up custom formula status LED. You want to add that, open it up. Then you want to pick the correct starting position, which will be, I think, 18th. Yeah, that is 18th. If you're using it for traction control, let's say I'm going to use what color? Blue. Let's use blue. All right. Then you want to click on this, click edit to set formula. You want to hit edit, go to encalc, insert property, write TC. I will be greeted with all of this, but you only require game data.tc level, not active. You click on level, you hit OK. Now you want to do is hit is equal to and insert 0. Now, these encoders have, I believe, 12 lights around this. So you have to clone it 12 times. I'll only be cloning it 5 or 6 times for demonstration purposes, but you get the point. And for each of them, for the next one, that is for the 19th LED, you will hit 19 for the starting position and change traction level value from 0 to 1. Then for the next one, you will go to 20th and then you will change the value from 1 to 2. Then you will do the same for the next one, which is 21st. This is for 3. I have ACC running in the background, so let's do a quick check. I'm sitting in Huracan, I think. Yeah. All right. So it is working just fine, but you might have noticed that there is no inactive LED. There's a quick fix for that. What you want to do is hit this one, and let's say you want to choose red color, right? Let's pick red for all of these. And that's it. You see, now you have an inactive color for the LEDs, which will denote where you are. The same can be achieved for ABS as well. You just have to repeat the exact same process, but instead of clicking on traction control, hold up, custom formula LED, add, then you want to click on property. Instead of traction control, you will insert the property for ABS. It says here it is not supported, but it will work just fine. Insert the value once again, starting from 0. Then you want to, first of all, change the color, of course. I'll use purple here. Then you will, what happened? Yeah. Then you will clone it once again 12 times, I believe. And also you have to choose the starting position, which will be 30th for this one. I nearly forgot about that. I do apologize. Anything else? No, that's fine. Then you will use it for the next LED, which is 31st. You have to change the property from 0 to 1. Then for 32nd, right? Okay, hold on. What was it? First, you will use 2. Let's do a quick check. It works just fine, but like I mentioned earlier, you can assign an inactive light in the background. I have set it so where I don't need to see it because once again, I don't like it. But feel free to experiment here and there. I'm not an expert on this. I'm sure there are much better qualified people who will be guiding you through all of this process, or simply making an entire, what do you call it? A package for this, a profile for this. So make sure to keep an eye out for all of that, which I think will be available as soon as the product hits the market. And those profiles will be available on Simhub's Discord server, I believe, if I'm not wrong, for free, by the way. So yeah, that's pretty much it. In Simpro Manager, things are a bit simpler and straightforward for those who don't prefer that much tinkering. You get to customize all of your LEDs, including the rev lights. Unfortunately, you cannot make the same stuff happen to the encoder lights in here like on Simhub. You can calibrate your clutch and that's all. Oh wait, and you also need Simpro Manager to update the software of the hub. There isn't a whole lot to talk about when it comes to the customization on Simpro, but it gets the job done. With pretty much everything covered, let's tackle an important question. Is it worth choosing the Simagic Neo X hub over a traditional wheel? Let's see, the hub costs $199 and let's say you choose the 4-paddle setup and MagLink for Simhub compatibility. The total goes up to $274. That is, excluding shipping, taxes and assuming you have a rim. At this price point, you unlock several other options, but at the expense of being tied to a single rim. If Simhub compatibility matters to you, then GT Neo is Simagic's only other alternative, but it is a GT style rim. If Simhub is irrelevant to you, then the choices expand further. For circular rim, you have GTS and the slightly older GT1. For GT style rims, you have GT4 or even the FX Formula rim. And if talking about another hub, then you have GT Pro, but it costs more and does not have Simhub. The Neo X hub's main advantage is its flexibility and Simhub compatibility. Whether or not this hub is worth it will depend on how much you value customizability and adaptability. As for me, I feel like I should get used to swapping rims after all. Anyways, that's been it. I've been Darth Snape and may the downforce be with you.